Good evening, friends. Thanks for joining us. We're excited that you're here today. Ernesto Mejia is back with us again this month, and he has a super fun and engaging presentation on leveraging virtual tools, which, if you're like me as a parent or a school person, you know that those things are always changing. And so I'm excited to learn from Ernesto tonight and to be together with you. Ernesto, with that, I'll let you take it away.
I got it. Thank you very much. Shout out to Nicole Davis for having her camera on. I know people get scared. I appreciate that. Shout out to you, Nicole. All right. Wherever you're tuning in from, if you can in the chat, throw it in the chat. We realize, that is awesome. Oh, look at that. Hola, saludos, hello. Welcome, everybody. Nicole, now I feel like I want to be over there now. Okay, but anyway, thank you. And then Kimberly, again, I'm gonna ask you because I can't switch it, and I don't know if you can, if you can pin me. Mine's still, you're still the one on my screen. It's no big deal as long as everybody else can see me. So today we want to focus on leveraging virtual tools. I want to preface today's session with a few things. One, I'm going to focus on some school tools for you, but that being said, it's going to vary depending on your school, which virtual tools you use. So like the class dojos, the Remind, the Blooms, the Parent Source, it's going to be different for everyone. But also I'm going to focus a little bit on some safety tools. And as usual, because it's me, you already know what I'm going to do. I'm going to put it on you as the parent in terms of what you do as well. Okay, so we're going to cover a few things today, and I want to make sure that we're clear with that, we understand. And in the chat, I always want you engaged, letting us know what you think. If you have any questions, the team can help us with that. Hopefully, reply. Kimberly or Shannon, if you see a question that you feel I should answer out loud, please feel free to let me know too. Okay. So, that being said, let's start off. And I'm not trying to scare you, but let me scare you. So, there's a CNN article, and some of you may have seen it on social media. We read it a few days ago about children under 13 using cellular devices, but also screen time. And when we're talking about platforms like virtual platforms for security, I wanted to give you one of the reasons for that. If you scan that QR code, it'll give you access to that article. So, in a nutshell, this is what the article says. Children under 13 should not be spending tons of time on social media, YouTube, all these other online platforms, because studies are showing it is causing anxiety and depression at a much higher rate, and in particular with our young ladies. Now, I have a confession to make, and pretend you don't know me, because if you do, you're going to get me in trouble with my mother-in-law, okay? My baby girl, who's 2, Yaretsi, has been able to spend a lot of time with grandma and grandpa. Grandma sometimes maybe just gives her the phone to just hang out for a while. My daughter's thumb seems to move like this a lot faster all of a sudden. But also, I've noticed over the past couple of months, if she doesn't get what she wants, careful. That fuse is lit like that. Those fits seem to be getting a little bit worse. Coincidentally, her screen time has increased. Not at home, and I'm trying to stay married, so don't worry about that part. But, it is still an issue, and sometimes we have to bring it up. And the reason I'm bringing it up is because this isn't just in my household. Sometimes you have somebody else watching your children, screen time, because that's the other babysitter now. Sometimes you have a grandma, a grandpa, an aunt, an uncle. Well, it's okay. They're just going to be on it for a little bit. I know they're just watching fun videos. This article is actually asking now for us to consider worldwide to not allow children under 13 onto virtual devices because of the damage that it is doing. So if you're wondering why some of these virtual tools are important, or that you're at least aware of them, I wanted to set the tone with that. I'm not trying to make anybody sad or upset. but I also want you to know I'm the person delivering today's session. I'm seeing this at home. Does that mean you are a horrible parent? No. Does it mean that there's room for improvement? Possibly. Does it mean that maybe you need to have a difficult conversation with family members? Probably. But these are things that we need to take into consideration because it is causing damage to our youth. And for some of us, feel free, take a close look in the mirror, not just to our youth. Okay. So I want us to be aware of that. And I want to set the tone with that. Now, let me switch my view over here so that I can see these better on my side. So not using virtual tools can result in, and there's some clarification on these two last slides. And I'm focusing again on your school resources and what you have. You can become uninformed of your children's academic progress. And no longer are we in the days where you have to wait for months before you find out how your child is doing in school. In some cases, you can find out almost in real time how your child is doing that same day. And you know as well as I know, your child will come home and say, well, the teacher hasn't updated the grades. That's why, I have a failing grade right now. Really? Is that really the reason? And in some cases, it might be the reason. Okay. And I've been on both sides of that one as well. But also, it can result in, I don't want to say communicating with teachers, and that was my mistake, not communicating with teachers because you have all of these virtual tools. Like I said, the Class Dojo, you have the Remind, you have the Blooms, you have the Parent Source, you also have the website, email, texting, whatever the school uses. And that's something that I want to focus on. You have to find out what it is and you have to sign up for it. And do not, no me importa si no saben inglés. I don't care if you don't know English, is what I just said in Spanish. Stop saying that you can't use technology because you're not familiar with it. You don't know how to use it. You don't know how to sign up. Nobody taught you how to use good old el Facebook or el YouTube, but somehow you learned how to use them. And that includes a username and password, which is what all of these other resources are going to require. But also, it can prevent you from building digital literacy. And what does that mean? For you to become more aware of all of these digital tools, resources that are available to you, and then passing them on or knowing how to use them. I'm going to date myself, but some of the parents and probably more grandparents are going to understand this. Remember the days when you had a VCR? Those are things for you young parents. I don't want to hear you right now. Okay. Let me just explain. It's where you put a tape in. None of us even knew how to use it besides putting the tape in. But that was the extent of being behind on technology back then. Now, if you don't know how to use these online tools and resources, your children do, but they can also choose to pretend they don't, so you don't have access to them. Because by not using these tools that your schools have in place for you, you won't know if they didn't show up for a class. And if you're wondering why you wouldn't know, how many of you as parents used to come home after skipping, not going to a class, maybe even not going to school to say, hi, mom, dad, I didn't go to school today, by the way. But anyway, how was your day? None of y'all. Same as me. So because of it, you couldn't find out. Now, you might even get a notification if you set it as such so that it tells you immediately if your child isn't in school, if they didn't go to class, if they didn't turn in an assignment. And if you want to raise independent, critical thinking children, and we stop telling them at all times when to get up, when to brush your teeth, when to make your bed, when to do laundry, when to do homework, then maybe we can stop asking them questions if we use some of the virtual tools that are in place from our schools. Your job is to find out which tool is being used and following up with a simple question. How do I use it? Somebody at your school should be able to guide you, inform you, set you up, log you in. Even if you need to create an email to set things up, they should be able to help you. If they don't, feel free to let us know so that we can reach out to the school. Okay. That is part of our jobs to try to support you with that. So I don't want you missing out on these things because it is so helpful. Sometimes you can even find out because some of these teachers are doing such an amazing job. They're letting you know what the homework is for next week. You don't have to ask your child what's the homework today if you visited the online resource that you have, the app, the program. Instead, you can just say, hey, um, did you finish today's homework? They're like, what do you mean homework? I didn't have any. Oh, well, according to your math teacher, you had this problem on this page and it's due tomorrow. So if you didn't have any, that means you already did it then, right? Can I take a look at it? Uh, I'll be right back. I think I have something to do. Stay on top of things, okay? If you stay on top of things, things can get a little bit better for you. And you don't have to be checking in at all times. Now, this is where I'm going to put the ball back in your court. You are the role model as the parent. Your actions will always speak louder than your words. If you say, I don't need that app, I don't need this technology, but you're using different apps and different technology at all time, does that make sense? Your social media usage. 60% of parents are communicating with other parents via social media and not just text messaging or phone calls. And you know how it is now. If you get a phone call, you're like, why are you calling me? You couldn't have just text me or message me or DM me. We rarely make phone calls, but check your social media usage because if they're on their apps checking social media and you don't know, because trust me when I tell you, they have more than one account. They'll show you their fake one, that Finsta. Oh, no, no, here. See the picture I put of us the other day? Really? What other apps are you using? What other usernames do you have for that same application, for that same platform? Okay. Now, this could be a whole workshop, and we spoke about this earlier. Your usage of AI. I am a huge fan. And one of my friends who helps me out a lot, her name is Laura, will tell you I am a huge fan. And I'm trying to use it in a responsible manner and not trying to make it create everything. AI is artificial intelligence. Okay. That's where you get to say, write this paper. Trust me when I tell you, your students are very familiar with Chat GPT, where they just could say, I need you to write me a paper about X, Y, and Z, this many pages long, and throw in a few errors so that it looks like it's mine. The paper's done like that. Everything is. So when I say your usage, before we start pointing fingers at our children, how much are we using it? And are we teaching them how to use it responsibly? I use it regularly, but I try to instruct it with everything. I give it all of my information, all of my ideas, then it helps me put them together. But that's not necessarily the case all the time. So again, before you point the finger, find out how you're using it and having those dialogues. And your ability to leave tech aside. When I say tech overall, these platforms are great. But sometimes, oh, I'm checking your grades. That turns into I'm checking my Instagram. That turns into my Facebook. Let me answer these work emails. And I've seen it because I've done it. And because school's about to start, my wife has to do it. She's a principal. I have to answer this. It's urgent. What are you doing and what are you teaching through your actions? Okay. Because remember, your actions will always speak louder than your words. Now, let's get into digital safety. It's so important that I put a QR code for each one of these platforms for you so you can just scan it and it'll take you to it. Some are free and some are at cost. Okay. Now, Bark is one that all of these, in essence, here's what they do. They monitor what your children are doing online, but in different manners. Some might just be like their web browsing, some focus on their social media, some focus on all their screen time. So it'll vary. But I tried to put them in the order that I saw are the most popular and most used, meaning Bark first. I'm not asking you to bark. I don't want anybody barking right now, okay? But Bark is the first one, Aura is the second, and Custodio is the third. Now, each one of these can monitor as many things as finding out what your children are doing online. What websites are they visiting? Their social media, their interaction, people that are interacting with them. but some are a little different than others. So Bark, I want to take Bark first. It's gonna monitor more of your online communication, meaning what I'm communicating with somebody else, and you on your phone can see and understand what's happening, get notifications. You set it up however you want. Now, Aura, the difference with that one is that it's actually a lot more good about protecting your identity. And there's an option on there, which I actually recommend for adults. I'm going to talk about this in a minute, your digital footprint, to make sure your identity isn't being stolen, used anywhere, your information. So it's good for that too. The one that is most user friendly is the custodial. That one too, and I just want to make sure I'm getting this right. It it makes the overall web monitoring easier for you to see. So I want to give you for instance, an example, right? So if I'm a parent and I have Custodio on my app, on my phone, sorry, my little one, my youngest, let's say, is online, but I have the app monitoring their usage. If they happen to go to a site where they shouldn't be, even if I have, settings on there that says they shouldn't be on there, I will get a notification on my phone and it lets me know. It's important, especially as we're teaching how to use technology at a younger age, that we do so. And here's the thing, I don't like saying this, but I work with youth regularly, and I'd rather be honest with you. You don't know everything that they're doing online. You typically don't. Now, if you're using some of these digital safety apps, you'll have a much better idea. But trust me when I tell you, even children with AI technology are going to try to find a way around it. So one of the things that I wanted to touch upon today is I don't want you just supervising, looking over their shoulders at all times. We have to teach them how to be responsible. We have to let them know there are predators out there. I, for example, started to practice for a while now. If I post something about my children, I try not to post where they're at, what school they're at, even their names at times. And it's funny because if I post it, people that know me don't necessarily know my children's names, and they're not that easy. So they're just like, oh, congratulations to your daughter. Oh, good luck in school to your daughter. Oh, your son, this. They don't know. And the people that do will put it in there. But these are things that I want you to take into consideration because it's scary out there. It just is. And I don't want to make this dark, but I want you to understand the consequences of not knowing what your children are doing, not having any kind of these digital safety apps. There are people dedicating their day and night to try to get in communication with your child, to try to blackmail, to try to scam them, to try to steal their identity, to try to do things that just aren't right. And we have to remember, they're still young, their brains are still developing, they're gullible, they can fall for things rather easily. I don't care if you are extremely book smart, those street smarts and understanding, and especially on technology, you might not have that knowledge yet, that experience yet. So these are three of the apps that I wanted to make sure that I shared with you. And if you scan the QR code, you can download them to learn even more about them. For those of you that don't necessarily know a lot about this, sometimes it's as simple as going onto YouTube and putting in, how does the Bark app work? How does Aura work? How does Custodio work? And it'll give you an idea. But I have to be honest with you. These are great and we need them. Nothing is going to beat being able to have honest and sincere communication with your child and back and forth. So I want to make sure that I'm clear on that, okay? Now, when I mention your digital footprint, this is important for you as well as for some of your children. We have already worked with children whose identity and social security number are being used, and not necessarily because it was stolen by somebody that didn't know them. Sometimes it's somebody from within their own family and they're not aware of it. So Google your name. So, for example, when you Google my name, and I'm not asking you to do it, there's a much bigger, more handsome, better built Ernesto Mejia. He plays baseball. He's in better shape than I am. Ironically enough, if you don't do your homework, you may be hired to go speak at a school and they're expecting a baseball player. And guess what? I'm the one that shows up. And I played T-ball and I was horrible. I'm not the guy that they wanted. So I'm just giving you that as an example. But if there's information online that you find about yourself, you can ask for it to be removed. Even with your social media, check your settings because I know you've experienced this and you're like, oh, look, on social media, we were just talking about a vacation to X place and it showed up on my phone. It wasn't an accident. It's part of our settings on our social media. Okay. So be aware of these things. Now, this is the point that I wanted to cover even more so than everything else. I want you to empower your children and don't just supervise them. There's a difference between barking orders on a regular basis and saying, my kid does everything that I tell them, versus my child does things without being told. And there's some trust there. And that's different. And it's not easy to do. So talk about, virtual tools with one another. It can be as simple sometimes as, hey, I saw this bald, shiny dude. I know, and I apologize for the light. I saw this bald, shiny dude talking about virtual tools. I didn't really understand what he meant or how they work. Can you explain some of them to me? That's a way to get the dialogue going. From there, you can share some of your concerns. So, what platforms do you use? What virtual tools do you use and how? Can you explain them to me? Have your child try to explain them to you. If you are using something like the school apps or like, for instance, a virtual tool that I wanted to recommend to you that I wanted to squeeze in here because it wasn't part of the session per se is called How We Feel. How We Feel. That's the name of the app. And I thought about it after I was reviewing all my notes because what it does is it allows you to check in every day and share an emotion as to how you're feeling. Happy, sad, angry, upset, anxious. Typically, for youngsters, for younger people, and even adults, we don't have the vocabulary to express how we feel. This app helps you do that. So, teaching responsible usage could be giving you a good resource. When we talk about virtual tools, a lot of the times we're talking about even just your scheduling calendar, things of that nature. There's a lot of different tools out there, and you know that we all use them all for your exercise, for your steps, for your diet, for your sleep. There's a ton of them. But teaching responsible usage, I think, is very important and making sure that you're dialoguing about it and understanding the consequences. Now, again, I'm not trying to scare you, but sometimes the consequences for children obviously can be dark. But sometimes you could lose a full ride scholarship. You could be expelled from school. These things are happening, and I don't want you to be the parent that has to show up and say, I had no idea. And it's hard. It's very hard. Trust me, I understand that. But we have to try to do something to communicate and to monitor to make sure that we are on the same page. Okay. Now, I wanted to end here really quick, letting you know about our next session on August 20th at 6:30, developing engagement strategies. But before I leave, I would like for you, before we wrap up today, in the chat to put any kind of virtual tools that you use. Because here's the thing, there's a new virtual tool like every day. You find an app and then you have to share it with everybody. Hey, have you heard of this one? No. Well, it just came out yesterday. There's so many virtual tools for us to use, and we have to realize which ones fit our needs, our wants, and which ones help us with our family to communicate better, to monitor one another, to keep each other safe. Life 360 is an app that I used to use often with my children, so I knew where they were at. Life 360 is great because when my son started driving, it would let me know if he went over a certain speed. And when he came back, I was like, hey, so who are you racing today? Like, what do you mean? I'm like, I don't know. I don't know where you're at, but somehow you hit 89 miles per hour today. How did that happen? Huh? Once they know that you can monitor these things and you can become aware of what they're doing, it helps. And trust me when I tell you, our children still need some help figuring these things out. These were just not even a handful, really, of virtual apps, but I want to again emphasize the point of view, improving that communication with your child and asking them to teach you more about it so you can both continue to grow, monitor, support, encourage, and more importantly to me, build some trust, because sometimes the job of parenting is being able to coach them, train them, develop them, teach them how to behave when we're not around, when people aren't looking. And unfortunately for you and me, there aren't a lot of people looking often when they're like this at night, at the bus stop, at school, on their work break, almost everywhere. So we need to do our part to try to help them. Again, don't forget in the chat, you can let me know if they have any app recommendations, virtual tools that they want to recommend. The notebook app. Okay, I see that. Did I miss any over there that we may want to share? What does that do, Monica? I see Matthew uses Life 360 for our family. It used to show Matthew driving at 175 miles plus an hour, so that was an issue.
Can I
Apparently,
talk?
there you go. Now you can. I mean, we heard you. Go for it.
Okay, so the notebook one, it's more of an educational one, but it's one where you could go in and put documents, articles, videos, any of all that, and it creates like a podcast for you to
Oh yeah.
listen to, and then you can stop and ask questions. So if you have things that you don't understand or a big,
Mhm.
let's say like and I'm going to do it as a parent one to another parent. So in an art meeting they give you a big old document to for parents, so you could use this notebook and it has someone go in there and then you can listen to it, so like a pod
Yeah.
and like tell you what the handout is about. And
Mhm.
then you could stop and like ask like, well, what does art mean, or what is, but anyway, so I use it also because I'm always on the road, and so I'm putting in
Mhm.
videos and articles and then listening to it.
Right. And the podcast format makes it easier to absorb a lot of the times.
Yeah, so that's the latest one.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. Odds are high if everybody looks at their devices, you have about 10 to 15 apps you don't even use anymore. And some of them you'll realize because I just realized on my phone, you want me to download this app again for you? I'm like, Jesus, it's been that long since I've used it. Apparently it has. We can do some cleansing there too to, expunge the ones we don't use. But there are certain apps that we, as family engagement specialists, could have a session where we find out from other parents, other educators, what are they using? How are they using it? But as a school, I think we need to do a better job of setting our parents up with the apps that our schools use at the very beginning of the year to ensure that they understand them, they're using them, and they know how to get a message or send a message back. All right. That's all for me, folks. I want to make sure I'm respectful of your time. And thank you again for tuning in and sharing. And thank you to all the parents that are there. I'm so happy you're there.
All right. So I'm just trying to read the chat while I'm in here real quick. So the Google, Nicole was sharing that a family uses the Google parent link.
Family link.
And I think, I think there's some things back and forth. So yes, I Googled it and what they said it's the called a Google family link.
Okay.
And so they're saying that's it and it's free. So we're going to definitely have to look at that one because
Mhm.
I haven't looked and played with that one at all. But they say it does everything.
Well, we love the
Monitors
free
tech
ones
and
too.
apps, screen time, locations, and phone calls.
Perfect.
Wow,
That's awesome.
that's a
Very good.
lot. I haven't seen that one. Okay.
Thank you, Nicole.
All right. Is that it?
We're good on my end.
Okay.
You guys, thanks for joining us. I think you would agree that Ernesto's info here, it's just the tip of the iceberg. I think on this topic we could go on for hours. And as a parent of two now young adults, I would say I think that this topic is ever changing. What is true
Mhm.
today might not be true next week. And so find somebody who's seasoned or something that you can refer to often that keeps kind of up to date information because it's always changing. And I think I put this in the chat, but I think our kids sometimes we think they don't know, and they probably know way more than we give them credit for.
Oh yeah.
And at some points, they probably know way more about things than we do. And so I still sometimes have to say, hey, how do you do da 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 da? And I kind of feel like I've aged about 80 years when I do that, but I think it's okay. I think it's a great way to kind of test what they know and what they'll share. So again,
Yeah.
thanks so much for joining us. And we will see you guys for next month's episode on August the 20th. Make sure you sign up for that one about engagement strategies. So we are excited to see you then. If you need more information about this presentation or any other parent and family engagement resources, you can find us online at pfetexas.net. See you all again real soon. Bye.
Thank you, everyone.